Welcome to Love Your Life After Divorce, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know to rebuild your life after divorce from the inside out. Let's dive in. Hello there, friend. I hope you are doing really well. Today, I want to talk to you about this phenomenon that I've noticed that happens with quite a few women after divorce. Maybe this is where you are, so let me know if this sounds familiar to you. So, you're now divorced or you're well on your way, and your ex has already moved on with someone else, and he seems really happy. So, maybe you're in the same boat as several women that I've heard from recently that are so upset and angry. Maybe you're just super mad that your ex is now with someone new and giving her all the things that he never gave to you. It may sound something like this. I begged him to take family trips with us, with me and the kids, and he never would. And now he's out here traveling with his new girlfriend and her kids all the time. Or maybe it's something like he always hated crowds and never wanted to go to places that had lots of people. And I just saw him post, on social media that he's at this concert. He's in this huge crowd of people with his new partner. Or maybe it's something like he's taking time off work now to do things with her and her kids. And he would never take off work before, even when I begged him and explained to him how important it was. Or maybe now, your kids come back to you after they've been at his house and they say, "Oh, daddy learned how to fix, the toilet and it was leaking and he went to Home Depot and he got the parts and he fixed it." And he never did things like that when he was with you and you always wanted him to. Or maybe, you somehow see her social media post and he's buying her flowers. And you used to love to receive flowers, but he only gave you flowers like once or twice at the very beginning of your relationship and never again. And so you're sitting there seeing this stuff and you're thinking to yourself, what in the world? Why is he able to give her the things that I always wanted? Why is he now showing up as this amazing partner, this great boyfriend, or this great new husband to some other woman, but he wasn't able to give it to me? And it just makes you feel livid. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're sad, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're confused, maybe you're thinking, why in the world was he not able to do it for me? And so there are a couple things about this situation that I want to point out to you that you may not really be recognizing or realizing. So, number one is that you don't really know what their relationship is actually like. You are seeing highlights of their life together. Maybe you see social media posts of trips they go on or things they do out together that look really fun. Or maybe there's a mushy social post about how much they love each other or how lucky they are to have found each other. And so you see these little tiny tidbits of their relationship. And you make it mean that he is just showing up in this amazing way and that they're so, so happy. But honestly, do you really know that that's true? Because unless you are with them 24/7 and see all their text messages, you have no idea how they're communicating. You don't know how much they're fighting. You don't know whether or not she threatened him with something in order to get him to go to that concert with her. Or, you really just have no idea what the actual dynamic of their relationship is. And so it's so easy to see those highlights on social media or to hear just a little tidbit of what your kids tell you that they see going on, and you expand it in your mind into this amazing, perfect relationship that they're having, where he's showing up as this ideal partner that you always wanted, but that he never would give you. And so, first, just recognize that you do not have the whole picture. You do not see their entire relationship. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And then the second thing to remember about this dynamic is that all new relationships go through a honeymoon phase. If your ex is with his new partner for 1 year or less, then I can guarantee you he is still in the phase of putting his best foot forward, of showing up on his best behavior, of possibly even love bombing her, of doing exactly what she wants him to so that she won't dump him. He's probably just trying to shore up the relationship, to get her hooked so that he can feel more secure so that he can keep her. And so he's probably not really showing up as truly his authentic, transparent self. He's probably not being really forthcoming with a lot of his flaws. He's probably holding it together. He's keeping his anger in check. But this phase will not last. He's putting on a show to win her over. And honestly, if you think back, he probably did the same thing to you at the beginning of your relationship. Like you may have forgotten because it's been a long time, but what you may be doing right now is you may be comparing the end of your relationship to the beginning of their relationship. And that's not fair. You can't really compare the end of one relationship to the beginning of another because all relationships tend to go through that really, sweet, fun, exciting honeymoon phase in that first year or so. And so if you go back to the very beginning of your relationship with your ex, you may start to remember, oh, yeah, he used to buy me these really nice little thoughtful gifts, or he used to leave me these sweet notes around the house, or he actually planned date nights way back then. Maybe he did give you flowers for the first couple of years you were together. Maybe he gave you lots of compliments at first, but he never did in the last couple of years or months of your relationship. And so just be clear on what the beginning of a relationship looks like and how he showed up at the beginning of your relationship. It may be very similar to what he's doing now. And so it does not mean that he's all of a sudden this changed man who's able to give a woman the things you always wanted. It may just mean that he's putting his best foot forward, that he's not really being his true self right now, and that over time, all will be revealed and things will work out the way they should. But I think it's also important to note, I mean, and I know I talk about this sometimes, and sometimes I think people don't really want to hear this, but I really think the truth is that sometimes people really do change, or not even change. Each relationship has a different dynamic. I mean, you may be able to show up more vulnerably with a new partner more than you ever could with your ex. Maybe you didn't feel as comfortable with him, or maybe your new partner loves to do certain things that your ex didn't like to do. So, yeah, your relationship does look different. All relationships are different. And so, that's another thing to remember that maybe the dynamic between the two of them is just different than it was with you. It doesn't mean anything bad about you. It doesn't mean that he didn't love you or he wasn't willing to do the work. It just means that everyone's different. And so that's another little thing to keep in mind. And I know that that doesn't paint him out to be the villain or this horrible person, or, maybe he really will have a long lasting, happy relationship with his new partner. And that's okay. I mean, I know that it's hard when you're hurting and you see your ex moving on, but I'm about to give you a few practical tips on what to do and how to deal with that for yourself when that is happening. So, even if it is a legitimate, happy relationship, even if he's been with his new person for 5 years now and they still seem really happy and you think it's genuine, that's okay. Like, you don't have to cling on to some idea that, like, he's going to end up doing the same thing to her he did to me. Because honestly, that's just being vindictive and it's being, kind of holding on to some probably resentment and anger you have. It's amazing. It's amazing if you can really get to the point where you're happy for him and you want him to be happy. I mean, that's the most mature way to be. But especially at the beginning, when you're still hurting, when the breakup is relatively new, when the divorce has hardly been final for long, and you see him moving on with someone else, like I totally get it, is difficult to go through that. So I don't mean to make light of that, but I do want to just point out that ideally it's amazing for you and amazing for your ex when you can get to the place where you're just genuinely happy for him. You want him to be happy, and that's okay. But let's move on to the practical tips of what to do when you're in this scenario. So, number one is take steps to avoid seeing or hearing about his new relationship. You can unfollow your ex on social media. You do not have to be Facebook friends or Instagram followers in order to be a good co parent with your ex. Being social media friends is just not necessary in order to co parent well. And so that's an option. You can unfollow, you can unfriend. And the other thing is, if you're getting information from your kids about your ex and his new partner, unless your kids are young adults, I don't recommend that you have a conversation with them about that because you don't want to put your kids in the middle. You don't want to say to your kids, don't tell me stuff that's going on with them, because then that makes your kids feel concerned, like something they say might upset you. Then they feel the need to like keep certain information from you. I think that that can just be too tricky and it can put your kids in the middle. So I don't recommend asking your kids to not tell you certain things because they're kids. They don't understand what to say, what not to say. You just don't want them walking on eggshells around you or, like I said, feeling like they need to keep secrets or any of that. You need to deal with your own stuff. Don't have your kids monitor things for you because you can't handle it. You need to learn to handle it. But what I will say is if your kids do bring something up that triggers you, that makes you upset, something about him, your ex and his new relationship, just don't engage in the conversation. Don't ask any follow-up questions. Maybe just change the subject right away. Just don't dive into that. Definitely don't use your kids as spies. Don't ever ask your kids to tell you what was happening. Don't ever pepper them with lots of questions about, trying to get information about how your ex treats his new partner. That's just not fair to your kids. You do not want to put them in the middle. That's one of the worst things you can do as a co-parent. So just keep that in mind. So, number two, the next tip is to dig a little deeper and really recognize what you're making it mean. And what I mean by that is you see a social media post, for example, about them taking a trip together. So you see this post, you see these pictures of them smiling in this beautiful location. That's the fact, right? That's the cold hard fact is you see the post. So then what are you saying to yourself about it? What are you believing in that moment that's making you so angry or so sad? And it's probably something along the lines of, I guess he never really loved me or valued me that much. I guess I didn't deserve to be prioritized or treated very well. Why wasn't I worth his time and effort? What does his new partner have that I don't? So when you're really honest with yourself in that moment, you are probably telling yourself some version of one of those things. You're assuming that there must be something wrong with you since you weren't able to get him to treat you the way he's now treating his new partner. And that's a painful place to be. And it's also not really accurate. Your ex's behavior doesn't have to do with you. It doesn't have to do with your worthiness or your lovability or how awesome you are. But it's normal. It's normal to go there. And so I just want you to be aware. You have to first become aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling in order to heal it, in order to get out of that space that you know is not helpful. And it's painful when you see your ex living a certain life that you wanted with him. You wanted to be that person with him. You wanted to go on those trips. You wanted to go to that sporting event or you wanted to go to that museum or whatever. And so I just want to acknowledge and just encourage you to allow yourself to grieve that loss. Because as long as you were still with your ex, you still held on to some kind of hope that things would change, that they would get better, that he would finally start giving you what you really needed, that he would finally start treating you the way that you had asked him to treat you. But now that your relationship is over, and especially now that you see him moving on with someone else, the reality is just can kind of hit you like a ton of bricks sometimes, right? It's a lot to lose. It's a lot to grieve, but it's important that you grieve, that you recognize the loss of not only just the relationship itself, but the relationship that you wanted it to be. You had hopes that your relationship could be fun, could be exciting, could be connected. And now, you're seeing it supposedly play out with someone new. And that's really painful because it highlights the fact that you didn't get that. You wanted that type of relationship with your ex, and it just didn't happen. And so it's important to grieve that loss, to acknowledge, like, I wanted that type of relationship, but we couldn't have it. For whatever reason, it didn't happen for us. So you have to acknowledge that. You have to see it. You have to feel it. And just in order to allow yourself to move on and heal. And so the third tip I have for you, if you are in this situation, is to focus your energy, focus your mindset, focus your thinking back to yourself and away from him. Instead of letting your imagination just run wild with what he might be doing with his new partner and the great relationship they're having and how well he treats her and how the things he must be saying to her, instead of letting your mind just go crazy with that train of thought, I want you to stop that and focus on yourself. Spend more time thinking about the life that you want to create for yourself. Spend more time thinking about what you enjoy about your life right now. What is better now about your life that you are no longer with your ex? Maybe you just enjoy coming home to a peaceful home where you don't argue with anyone. Maybe you enjoy being able to just sit and chill and watch the show that you want to watch instead of always watching the show your ex wanted to watch. Maybe you enjoy eating healthier food. I mean, your ex complained about that in the past. So there are things right now about your life that are better because you're no longer with him. And then there's also all the possibility of what you can create going forward. What do you enjoy doing with your free time? What brings you joy? What makes you feel fulfilled? What lights you up and excites you? You have so much potential to create an amazing life for yourself. But as long as you're focused on what your ex is doing and how he's living his life and how his relationship must be so great, then you're not using your emotional energy, your mental energy to focus on your own life and to create a life that you love. If you've always wanted to spend time at museums or go to plays and your ex wouldn't go with you, now's the time to do that for yourself. You can do a lot of things by yourself, or you can find friends to go with you. If you love to hike, do it. Get out there, enjoy nature, enjoy your life. The bottom line is your mental and emotional energy is really wasted on thinking about what he's doing, thinking about his new relationship. That doesn't serve you at all. There's literally nothing helpful about you telling yourself that now he's treating someone else way better than he ever treated you. Now he's happier than he's ever been. Things like that do not help you. There's like no upside to thinking that way, to focusing on that. And so when you find yourself going down that path, just nicely and calmly redirect yourself. Just remind yourself, hey, you know what? That's not helpful. I don't want to think about that. I don't even know exactly what he's doing. Remind yourself that you don't really know exactly the truth of the situation. You don't know exactly what the relationship is like, and it doesn't help you to analyze it and think about it. And so just redirect yourself to what about my own life? What do I like about my life right now? What's going on that I'm excited about? What new thing do I have planned? Or what do I want to try next? Maybe you've always wanted to try pickleball. Pickleball's super fun. You should definitely try it. But there's always something new that you can do for yourself. And that should be your focus going forward. It's so important when you are grieving the loss of a relationship to continually look forward. If you are always looking back, then you're going to stay stuck. The women that I have talked to who have been divorced 3 years, 5 years, and who still feel just extreme sadness, anger, it's because they don't look forward. They are constantly looking back. And if that's where you find yourself, you have the opportunity to start looking forward. You really do. And so I'm just going to go over again really quickly the 3 tips that I have for you in order to get yourself out of this spiral of a situation when you see your ex moving on with someone else. So the first step is to avoid seeing or hearing about the new relationship in whatever way you can. Number 2 is to recognize the deeper meaning of what you are telling yourself about him and his new relationship. What are you making it mean about you? What are you making it mean about your past relationship with your ex? What are you making it mean about the new partner? Are you comparing yourself? So just take a good look at that. Do some journaling about it. And then tip number 3 is to shift the focus back to you, back to your life, and away from his life. And just remember, at the end of the day, your ex's new relationship isn't about you. It's about him. Whatever he's doing now doesn't change how valuable you are. It doesn't change how worthy you are, how lovable you are. So instead of focusing on what he's doing now, shift your focus back to you. What do you want right now? What experiences do you want to create? Your happiness isn't tied to his choices. It's something that you get to build for yourself. So let go of the comparisons. Trust your journey. He might seem super happy right now and while you're miserable, and then he might break up and then, in a few weeks you find the love of your life that you're with forever. Like don't compare your journey to your ex's. Do what's best for you. Follow your intuition, trust your gut about what's best for you right now. Build your own life without worrying about what he's doing. Because honestly, I really and truly believe that you have an incredible life that's waiting for you. You can create a life that you truly love living after divorce. And if you need any help with this, I would love to hop on a call with you and talk about where you are right now. What is going on with you right now? Are you stuck in this mode that we've talked about today of thinking about what your ex is doing in his new relationship? Are you feeling so hurt, so angry, so lost? Are you feeling unmotivated to even plan for your future? Do you have, not much hope for your future? Maybe you're really depressed. Maybe you're anxious. But whatever help I can offer you, I want you to know I'm here for you. If we meet and I'm like, you really need some therapy to deal with your past trauma, I will definitely tell you that. Having a call with me is no pressure. I'm not going to try to sell you something. I'm going to tell you how I can help you. And then you get to decide whether that sounds good to you, whether that sounds like a good fit. And there is absolutely no pressure, but I just love to offer one free call to everyone because I love to connect with you. I want to know how you're doing. I want to help you in any way that I can. And so, as usual, there's a link in the show notes to book a call with me, and hopefully, I will see you soon. If you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of how to move forward after your divorce, I've created a free guide just for you. It's called the 5 Stages of Divorce Recovery, and it lays out the roadmap to help you heal, rebuild, and love your life after divorce. This guide is packed with insights and actionable steps that will take you from grieving to embracing your future with confidence. Click the link in this podcast description, and the free guide will be delivered straight to your inbox.